Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Hello, how's it going?
How is it going? Great.
Good
And
evening.
great, good evening. Okay, so let's- let me present. Um, Yesterday, guys, we worked in deploying the backend in an EC2 instance, right? Today, we will continue working with the backend, but we're going to add more tables. And the idea is that you can use this time too for working in the assignments. Let me show the assignments that are for this week. Give me a second. I have them here. In our Moodle, we have two readings. The first reading is about some theory about EC2, and the second one is a reading about RDS. So there are four videos that you need to watch. The first reading is going to cost 8 points. It has three videos, the first one, and it's going to talk about EC2 instances. We're going to talk about EC2 types and security groups. Then you will need to solve the 10 questions that are followed here. And the next video, it's an RDS fundamental video. This is a 2-point assignment, and it contains 5 questions. Now, this part of the Moodle assignments. We're going to start working on them once we finish the class. But right now, the first part of the class is going to be uh, continue working with the backend that we started yesterday, and I will deploy the changes using GitHub in my EC2 instance. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Excellent. So yesterday, guys, I created an index file. You remember this? I mean, this wasn't yesterday. I think it was on Tuesday. And I don't know if you remember, but the only table that I created here was the patient table, right? You remember this?
Yep.
Yeah. So um, let me explain you that if you want to add more tables, give me a second, guys. My toddler is playing around here. Give me a second. Sorry, it was distracting me right now. So I don't know if you noticed, but here we created the endpoints, and this is the table of patients, right? But what's going to happen if we have more tables in our project? Our index file is going to contain a lot of line of codes, right? For example, if we want to add the post method for the doctors, I might need to add more line of codes here. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these files going to contain like 1,000 line of codes, and that is equivalent to something that is wrong. So we're going to do something else. We're going to prepare our backend so it can scale. The word scale means that it's going to grow. So we need to prepare that we can have more than 4 tables maybe in our project. So if you want to do that, um, this is a different structure that I will recommend you. First, we're going to add a folder that is going to be called routes. And a second folder will be added, and it's going to be called controllers. Okay, so in the routes, we are going to define the endpoints. And in the controllers, we will be defining the functions or the functionality of connecting to the database. So let me explain how um, I will refactor this code that I have here right now. So the first part is that I'm going to start working with the controllers. So I will add a function, or no, it's not a function, it's going to be a file that will be called controller or patients controller.js. So these files are going to contain all the logic. So it's going to have the method for the post, for the get, the put, and so on. So in this patient controller, we will be needing the pool object because this is the one that is helping us to do the connection to the database. So I will remove this importation that I have here, and I will bring it to the controller. So in the controller, guys, we're going to start creating functions, but these functions needs to be exportables. So remember that we learned how to create arrow functions, right? So they are inside of a variable. So this variable is going to be a const variable. I will call this the post patient. Remember that the post method is necessary if you want to insert data in the database. And this is going to be an arrow function. Remember, the two parameters necessary here are the request and the response. Okay, now this arrow function is going to contain the logic that I have in my index. So this is the post method, okay? So what's the logic that I have inside of this index? It's this, all this information, I mean, all this code that I have here, I will call it and I will put it here. I will paste it here. Now this needs to be an asynchronous operation. So we can do the awaiting operation here too. So right now I have refactored the method for the post patients. Now let's go and we're going to create the function for the get method. So what we can do is that we can cut the entire function that we have here, and let's create the function const get patients. It's going to be equal to all this code. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's create the method for the put operation. Oh, sorry. I will cut the code that I have here. And I will paste it here. Does this make sense, this part?
Yeah.
Okay. If you are not understanding something, guys, let me know. I will be glad to repeat. Okay, so this is the put operation. Now let's create the delete operation. Delete patients. And let's cut the code. Okay, so I'm just pasting the code that I created in the index file. Now, these configurations that I have here, I will remove them, but where do I need to set up this part where I will be creating the routes? This part is created in the folder that is called the routes folder. So I will create a new file that is going to be called patients route. .js, okay? So inside of this, we're going to create a mini app. Remember that the index file contains the app, right? This is the one that is listening in the port 4000. So we're going to create like a mini app, but in this case, it's not going to be an express definition. It will be an express.router because it's like I mean, it's like it's equivalent to an app, but it's not an app. Okay, so let's create a router, and the way to do that is that first we need to import express here from express. And I will create right now the mini app. In this case, I will call the mini app as the name of the table. In this case, will be called patient. And this is going to be equal to router, sorry. So this is like a copy of an app, okay, but it's not an entire app. So first I need to define the methods here. So the patients dot get is going to have a route here. The route is equivalent to an endpoint too, okay? So the first route was this one, right? The get patients. And I need to set up here the way that is going to behave this route. So if you want to know, if you want to set up the behavior, you need to import the information from these functions that I have here. So these functions needs to be exportable. So let's add the export keyword at the beginning of the definition of the function. So from now on, I can export the function. Now in the patients, I will be importing the get patients from the patients controller. So the way that this is going to behave is running the function get patients. Now, in the backend or in the background, this function is going to do this operation. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the callback. I'm going to call this function. Now, let me set up the post method. Again, the route or the endpoint is going to be patients. Now, I will import the function post patients. Let me rename it patients as a plural. Uh, patients. Okay, great. Now, put patients and delete patients. Okay, so let's continue and let's set up the patients dot put. Now the route of the put operation here, remember, is this one. So let's bring the route here. Now the callback is going to be the function put patients. Now let's set up the patients dot delete. The routing part requires this URL. Remember, in the URL, we are passing the parameter of the ID of the element that we are going to remove from the database. And it's going to perform this function. So now this patient small app needs to be exported to. So in the index file, instead of having all those configurations, what I will do is that I will import the patients from the patients routes.js. Does this make sense? I'm bringing the object of the router and I will bring it to the index. Now the app is going to use these patients. Now we need to set up here like the beginning of the route. In this case, we're going to add a subroute that is going to be called API. Like this. Let's see. Just like this. And in the patients, we are just going to leave it this way. Okay, so in this case, the new URL, let me show it. Node -- watch index.js. Something was wrong here. Let me see the connection. Okay, I did something wrong in the connection. Let me import it again. Import full. No. Full from. Let's see. We need to add double dot. Yeah. And let's enter to the DB and to the connection.js. Okay, great. Now, now the server is online. So let me get the patients. Let me try this using my Thunder client project. Now, remember, this was the previous endpoint. Now we added a prefix that is called API. This prefix has been added here in the index, this part. And the endpoint is this one, patients. Now let's try to get the patients. Okay, let me explain you that right now my table of patients is empty because yesterday I did expose my entire secrets to the world. Remember, these classes right now are into YouTube. So I decided to drop the tables and to drop the database. And I recreate a new database with a new secret or the new secrets that I have in my .env file that I will avoid to share that in the screen right now, okay? Because this is very personal and we need to be, um, we need to have security with our account. That could be something very risky. Someone can fill my database with some information that I don't require there, and it's going to cost money for me. So I I decided to drop the previous database. So let me see. Um, Let me try to create a new patient, and let me add the endpoint. I mean the prefix API to the endpoint. I will create a new patient object created, and if I get the patients, this is the only patient. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me this kind. I don't know if you like this kind the way that this um date looks like, but we can pretty this part. Can do something pretty. So the way to do that is that in the get method, let me see the get patients. So instead of selecting all the columns that I have in the table, we need to select column by column. So I let me recall which were the columns of this table. So we have the patient ID, the name, and the birth date. Let's see if this continue working. Okay, so it still working. So um, we can do something here. We can prettify the date. We can put a pattern here. And this is a database operation that we perform in SQL. So there is this function that is called toChar, and we can put a format here, and the format is going to be YYY. Um, so it's going to bring the year, the name of the month, and the date as birth date. Let's try it again. Let's see. So we prettify it. Oh, sorry, it didn't work. I think it's mon this way. Yeah. So you see, it has a different format, right? I think it's better this format. Okay, so let me add another patient. In this case, will be Batman. Okay, so I have two patients in my database. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. Now, what will happen if we need to create a backend, the entire backend for the CRUD operations for another table? Okay, so again, we need to continue with the same rubric. Okay, so we need to create a controller for the table and a route for the table. So let me create it for you. The next table that I will be creating right now will be the table of departments. Okay, this one. So let me create the table of departments. First, we need to add the controller. My recommendation, always start with the controllers, guys. Department controller.js. So in the department controller, we need to import the pool. And then once we import the pool, we're going to start creating our variables. Const get departments. This will be an asynchronous function that will receive the request and the response as parameters. And here we will start creating the variables. Okay, so first, my recommendation, we can copy here like the pattern here too. The get patients, let's see it. So let's see. We can copy the pattern here. And the thing that we're going to be modifying, let's see what's going on here. What's the problem? Oh, I missed the arrow function here. So instead of returning the information from the patients, the different table will be the table of departments. Departments, yeah. Now, let's create the controller. This is the controller get departments. Now, I will add the route of the department route. Let's go to the routes. So here, first, we need to import Express from Express. Now we are going to create like the mini app here, and it's going to be called with the same name of the table. Export const departments is going to be equal to express.router. Now, here we're going to set up that the departments dot get is going to have an endpoint that is going to be called departments, and it's going to behave with the function of the get departments from the department controller. So let me, oh, give me a second. Let me set up this part. And in the index, now we're going to import the department from the department routes. Now we're going to set up how this is going to work. Dot use, again, the the prefix API will be added to this endpoint, and it's going to behave using this function. Let me format it. Great. Now I have the get method. Okay. So let's try this. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let me see if I have the autosave is enabled. Yeah, great. So let me try the new endpoint. This is the get patients, right? Let me duplicate this. And this is going to be renamed as get departments. And I will point right now. I will try to hit the departments endpoint. Let's see, API, it's not, this is not working. Let me see how I set up this part in the index. I think I misspelled the word departments. Depart, right? Departments, and here is depart. Okay. Connection was refused. Okay, so I have an error here. Let's see. Get depart. Okay, this is in the departments.get. Give me a second. This is the function that we are trying to run. Now let me get the departments, and I will receive an empty array because this table right now it's empty. Okay, you see the response right now is empty. Now I will set up the post method for the department. So let's go to the department controller. Let me create a new function. Export const post department. It's going to be equal to an asynchronous operation, request, response. Okay, so here we need the body. This is equal to the request dot body. Okay, this is the information that we are sending, that's the JSON information in the request. Now we need to create a SQL variable. This is going to be equivalent to the insertion operation. Insert into the table of departments, that is this one. And we need to set up here the columns. So I remember that we have the name and the head of the department, right? Let me see. I don't remember it. No, just the name of the department name. So let's put just the department name. And the values are going to be equal to a parameter that will be replaced later. So let me create right now the array of parameters. This will be equal to an array with the body dot department name. Now we're going to create the connection to the database. Const result. This will be equal to an await for this promise. That will be pool.query. And we're going to perform this SQL operation with the binding of this parameter. And we're going to return rest.body, I mean rest.json, and we're going to return a message. Object created. Now, let me try this right now. Give me a second. Now I will open my Thunder client and I will clone the patient's post. Let me duplicate this. Where is the, okay, it is here. I will rename this as department post. So I think it is here. So we need to pass just the department name. In this case, will be called cardiology. And let me change the endpoint. In this case, will be the endpoint depart. Let me see. Oh, I see. Sorry. I just created the function, guys, but I didn't set up the route. So let me add the route. So in the route, we're going to set up the departments.post. And we're going to add the endpoint departments to here. and let's import the function post department. Let's call this as the callback of the function. Let's try it. So the object is created. If I get the list of departments, now I have these departments. Does this make sense? Everybody? Students, are you there? If you want, you can send a message. Guys. Okay, I will continue. Let me add another department. In this case, will be general. The object has been created. Now I have two objects in my table of departments. Okay, so let's modify the department. The way to modify the departments is using the put operation. Okay, so let me create the function for the put operation. Port. Let me see. It will be exports const. Put departments will be an asynchronous operation and we'll be receiving the request and the response to. And this is an arrow function. So let's perform the SQL operation here. We're going to do an update. Okay, that information, remember that in the put operations, always we're going to receive the ID of the element as part of the parameters in the URL and the content that we are going to be modifying as the JSON body. So we need from the ID. In this case, will be called ID department, or let me see how it's defined in the table. Department ID will be equal to the request dot params, and the parameter is going to be this one. Now from the body, we're going to grab the body from the request. Okay, so let's create the function, or I mean the SQL instruction. In the SQL instruction, we're going to set up that we're going to change all the columns right now, but it just has one column right now, the table. Update departments, hospital, dot departments. And we're going to set the department name. It's going to be equal to the parameter number 1, where the ID of where the department ID is equal to the parameter number 2. Now we need to create the array of parameters. This is going to contain right now just the, well, we'll contain 2 parameters right now. First, the first parameter is going to be the department name, and we have the department name in the body. Body dot, oh, sorry. Body dot department name. And we're going to pass the department ID as the second parameter. Now we're going to perform the operation. Const result is going to be equal to await who dot query. We're going to pass the SQL command and the parameters. Now we're going to return JSON, and we're going to return a message object updated. So let's try it. Oh, but previously to try this, we need to set up the controller too. So let's import the function put departments dot put, and we're going to add the route departments, and in the route we're going to add the parameter department ID. That is this one. And we are going to call back the put departments. Now let's try this. Let me create a duplication from our Thunder clients examples. So the patient update will be duplicated right now. And let me rename this as department. Let me try this. In this case, we're going to add the prefix API. We're going to modify, okay, in this case, let's see, we have two departments right now. We're going to change the name of the second department for, let's see, pediatrics. Okay, so the object was updated. If I get the list of departments, now the second department has changed its name by pediatrics. Okay, so this is the put method. This is the way that we can update something from our backend. Now, let's create the delete method. This is the last one. Okay, so let's go here to the department controller. And first we need to create the function delete department request and response. Remember, this is an arrow function. And this is going to be very similar to the update. But in this case, we're going to grab the department ID from the parameters. And we're going to have a function here. I mean, a SQL instruction. And the SQL instruction will be, instead of an update, we're going to do a deletion. Delete from, and we need to set up the name of the table and the ID of the element that we're going to be modifying. So in this case, we're just going to pass one parameter. Now let's create the array of parameters, and it will contain just one object right now, and it's this one, the department ID. Now let's perform the SQL instruction using the pool object. Pool.query, and we're going to pass this query and the parameters. Now we're going to respond to the client object remover. Does this make sense, this part? If not, let me know. Now let's try this. Oh, okay. We created the function right now. Now we need to set up the route. We need to import the function delete department. We can copy this. And let's just modify the function that it will be delete department. Now let's try this in Thunder Client. So let's go for the delete method that we have for the patients, and we're going to duplicate this one. Let's rename this method as remove departments. Now we're going to modify our URL, and we're going to add the prefix API. The name of the endpoint will be departments, right? And then we need to pass the ID of the department in the URL that we need to run. I mean, that we want to remove from the tables. Let's see. departments. Give me a second. It says that this is okay. This is the method delete. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, so the object has been removed. If we get the departments, now you will see that the JSON object returned contains just one department. Now, guys, this is the way that we can scale our project. The idea is that now I will deploy this in my EC2 instance. So you will see that this is going to be very easy. The code is going to be in your local computer. If everything is working, guys, you can commit this to GitHub. So the first step is that we are going to commit this. We're going to set a message as code refactoring. Okay, so I will commit this. And let's go to the EC2 service. Okay, in the EC2 service, there is the instances dashboard, and I will enter to my server. Remember that we need to connect to the server to create a modification inside of it, okay? So we connect using the SSH client online. We are connecting to the server, and it will be very easy, guys. We're going to enter, let's list the content of the folders that we have here. Remember that we have the projects folder. So if you want to enter to the projects folder, it's the command CD. It stands for change directory. The name of the directory is the projects directory. So ls is to list what we have inside of this folder, and it's the hospital backend folder. So let's enter to this folder. If we list the content of the folder is this one. Okay, so my recommendation is that what you need to do inside of this folder is just put git pull, and this will bring the changes. Does this make sense? Now my backend, it's online. I just pulled the changes in my EC2 instance. And this is why GitHub is very important, because you're doing the modifications in your local computer, and in your EC2 instance, you're just going to pull the changes. Does this make sense? Everybody?
No, whoops, I was muted. Yeah.
Are you there? I think I'm not listening, you guys. For some reason,
Oh, can you hear me?
give me a second. I think that I have a problem in my earphones. Yes. Give me a second. Okay, the output is mine. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, can you hear?
Now I can hear you. Okay,
Okay.
okay, great. I think I was having problems hearing with my headset right now. So, okay, so the idea is that if you are using GitHub, you just need to pull the code in your EC2 instance, and this is going to bring the changes to the computer, to the server and online. So I have a problem here is that in this server online right now, the EMB file contains the previous connections. So I will stop presenting right now. I will stop the recording because I need to change my .emb. I don't want to share this with the internet. So let me stop the recording. Um, let me stop presenting too. Give me a second. Once I have done that operation, I will let you know. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, let me show you that my server right now, I recreated the .emb file. So let me node dot, I mean node index.js. The project's working right now. So let's try to get the information from the URL, I mean from the online server. So let me copy the public IP from the server, and I will update it. Instead of having here the local host, I will update this to the remote server. Give me a second. Let me close all these files. I will use the Thunder client. Let me see. Okay, so we have the patients here. Let me put the URL, I mean the IP of the server is this one. Let me hit send. And as you see, it contains the modifications in the database and the modifications in the routes. Does this make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you in the departments too. I will update the IP of the project that I will try to hit. And this is with the content that I have done in the URLs. Okay, so um, as a conclusion, the way to scale up with the backend, guys, is that we need to create a controller folder and the route folder. The route is very similar to an app project. Do you remember that we have an app here, right? And it's going to be an initialization of the express object that we have here. Instead of having the entire app here, we're going to create like a sub app, a mini app. But that mini app is going to control the route for one table. So as you see here, we have the routes for the table of patients and the routes for the table of the departments. So if you want to create two more tables, because there are two more tables in the project, you might need to have two more controllers and two more routes. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
And at the end, guys, in the index file, you're going to set up that the app will use that route. Let me show you. The index file, just set up that the app is going to use the route patients and the route of the departments. And that's the way that we can scale up, because the index file, uh, I mean, if we didn't did this modification or this refactor into the code, the app file is going to have like 2000 line of code, and that's going to be, I mean, a headache to read it or to modify. So guys, this is the end of the lesson. Let me know if there are questions about it. And if there are no questions, you can continue working with the SQL Bolt assignment. I have noticed that there is only one person that is missing that assignment, but there are other assignments from the week 3, no 2, that there are missing other persons too. So you can continue working with those assignments. And if you finish all those assignments, you can work with the assignments of this week. Remember, there are 2 lessons, there are 4 videos that you need to watch so you can answer those 15 questions that are going to cost 10 points for this week. Um, do you have questions about it?
Not at the moment.
Okay, so be my guest, guys. Remember, I mean, be my guest of requesting any support if it's necessary. Let me know. Remember, tomorrow we have a free day, so we're not going to have class tomorrow. So, okay, continue working. Let me know if you need some support doing the assignments. Once you finish all the assignments, guys, you can dismiss the class. No problem with that.